my things. Okay, guys. Yeah. So, by the way, before starting, any questions so far or whatever we have discussed last time here, please let me know if you have. Otherwise, we will continue. Again, today we will be discussing about the pipelines only from the basics. And from last couple of days, what we have discussed is the how to start of this declarative pipeline and how to implement it and how to use the existing Jenkins pipeline editor for writing a declarative pipeline. That is one thing. And the second one is writing the pipeline code in a Jenkins file and refer that Jenkins file in our existing pipeline Jenkins job. And in that, we have used how to use a different modules like a shell module. We have used Git modules, we have used the directory modules, and we have used a couple of others also, like how do we execute and how to test it, how to parameterize it also we have learned. Okay, and this is what we have tried yesterday. I mean, the build with the parameters, meaning we are asking the user to select which branch you want to clone it and then do a compile on it. This is a parameterized. Okay, like this you can have a multiple parameterized. You can include multiple parameterized and do the stuff. So what we'll do is, okay, again the same. I mean, not like the same thing. Whatever we have learned, we do follow the same thing, but on top of it we will do some more things. What does some more things means? After packaging it, we'll get a jar, right? We will deploy that jar. How to deploy that jar? And at the same time, using a I mean, to deploy that jar, there are two ways. One is running a jar as an individual mode, another one is dockerizing that. So these are the two ways that we will learn today also, apart from what we do. Okay. And one more thing is we will build again from scratch. This would also help you to remember things, or this would help you to know like how to start again also. Okay. For this, there is some folder I do have. Let me do the stuff here. Okay. There is some open source project, and these are all some of the semi microservices, which are all Java processes. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to copy and I'm going to create a repository for this in my GitHub account. So um, so I'll be using directly. I'll just, again, same thing. I'll create a Jenkins file in that particular repository and then use as it is. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, where am I? Okay. Download Git learner. Here, what I do is I'll create a folder called semi microservices. You can name whatever you want, but I named it semi services. You can use whatever you want. So now this is the place, under the downloads, Git learner, under the semi microservices. These are my projects. Okay. If you open off all these projects, what does it happening here is basically there is a project. Inside of this project, there are there are sub projects. This is called a Maven sub projects. Meaning inside a big Maven project, you do have a multiple sub Maven projects here. Okay. Meaning there would be one pom.xml, which represents the entire how many services are there, and at the same time sub process also will have a pom.xml. Okay, like this. pom.xml, and again here also pom.xml here. Okay, so what is that meaning is we'll go to each folder, this, and then compile it. We'll get a generate a jar file, meaning when we do mvn package, we'll get a jar file under the target folder. We will deploy this jar in one way. Okay, how means java space hyphen jar space target slash, for example, company management is one semi microservice. I mean, the folder name is company mgmt hyphen artifact. I mean, I'm assuming the artifact name like something like this. Hyphen port is 8080. What does it mean is when you run this jar, you have to provide a specific port number in order to run this particular service. Okay, what does it mean is basically this is how, I mean, this particular jar has written code such a way that it required a port number to start a process. Meaning, for example, by default Jenkins is running on 8080 port, right? Let's give don't use that, for example, 9000, meaning there is a one service which is running on 9000 port of that service name is a company management, meaning this is a sum of the web application. Okay, this is how we will be running it. Okay, same process we will be running with a docker again, meaning, for example, this is one way we'll try it. Now another way is generate this, use this pom.ml, and then there is a file called docker file here, meaning we are going to dockerize this. In this project, since we did not learn the project of, I mean, since we did not learn about the Docker, right? We did not reach yet. So what is there is in the same folder, there is a file called docker file, which has been responsible for dockerizing this process. Meaning inside this docker file there are some commands how to build a docker image and how to start this particular port number, this particular jar into a docker container. So it has a functionality or it has an instructions how to do that everything. We don't touch anything, and we will also don't learn anything right away because it requires some more other terminologies of a docker. What we do is we will just learn how to run this docker command, how to use this docker compose file, and at the same time how to run that. When you run this docker file, it will generate an image, and then we will learn how to run that image. That is what, and then when you run that image, automatically whatever the result that you got for this, right, same thing you would be getting, same thing. Okay, here. So this is everything we will be doing with the Jenkins pipeline. Okay, these are the two ways. Similarly, we will try to apply the pom.xml for other two folders here. Okay, now let's get started, guys. For that, I just created folders here, and then same thing. First, let me put all my uh, services into this one, API gateway and everything. Okay. Okay. So what I do is first let me create a GitHub repository for me. So this way I can use this, I can push it and then do this stuff. Semi micro services, and then this is going to be a private because I don't want this code to be published. And these are the commands, and I'm gonna initialize of this because this is my repository. By default I'm on master branch now, and I'm adding everything to be tracked. I'm gonna speed a little bit because we already know about all this and we have talked a lot about this in earlier classes and we have asked also here. Now let me check what is that happen here. Yeah, most of all my code has been added, indexed or something like this. And now let me commit it here and add my code to GitHub repo. So let it go here and then it created things. I'm changing the branch name from master to main because it will be aligned with the remote repository. And the next one is I need to tell to my local Git saying that use this origin to push your changes to remote repository. Git remote add origin https something like this, and then finally git push -u origin main here. Okay, now it's been pushed. Let me refresh it here. Okay, the code is been there here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create uh, develop branch and then check out develop, and then here I'll start writing a Jenkins file here itself. Okay, so for that what I do is I'll use the editor same here. Okay, where am I? I am under the downloads git learner semi microservices. I'm using my Visual Studio code editor. Gonna create another file. Select the file is called Jenkins file, and it is asking me to where git learner semi microservices. This is Jenkins file and create this. Yeah, now let's get started here. Pipeline block. Under the pipeline block, we do have agent of any. Okay, and I don't want any of the other blocks here. At the same time, I do have a stages, assuming I don't have any parameterized requirement for now. So this is what, right? Stages block, and the stages is no, the stages block. Under the stages block, I do have stage called stage called stage called, for example, info. You are just displaying things under the steps. Under the step here, what is that? Steps or steps here? Probably the steps actually. And then what I do is I'll just display this is general information. Okay, and this is one. And the next stage is SCM config. And at this stage, I do have a multiple steps, and I'll use a module called a Git module. If I don't know how to use it, you can refer to the previous one, or else what you can do is you can open your Jenkins and then go to the pipeline syntax helper, for example, here. Okay, configure. Yeah, this is the pipeline code here, right? What I do is I'll go to the pipeline syntax. If I don't know how to use the Git, right? you go to this pipeline helper and then type git. It will ask you different information about, okay, this is my code, and here is the one. Yeah, it's not a master, it's a develop, and the credentials for this is same. What it is saying, why it is saying support the password authentication. Yeah, because I made this repository as a private, so it won't come by default. Of course, we are using a credentials, but when you say repository, it will try to pull automatically without using this credentials. That's why it is compliant. But now let's try this. I don't want of all this, and then I'm generating this. Simply, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. It is which is generated for me, and then I'm using directly here like this. This is a branch, and this is the credentials ID, and this is the poll. We don't require as a false. Fine. Okay, this is the one. And after that, what are their present scenes? This is the information. Now let's try and commit of all this and try to see if everything is working fine here or not. Okay, same git add Jenkins files, git commit, added a Jenkins file, and git push horizon develop. And now let me create a Jenkins pipeline for this pipeline jobs. Under my pipeline jobs, I'm gonna create another job called semi micro services pipeline, and this is a type of pipeline here. And here I do use this Jenkins files from Git, and the repository is this, and the credentials use this. Credentials for this is, it's not able to pull in. Okay, but still we see this. Okay, no. Okay, in this one, this is the one, and not from the master, from develop and repository browser. No, this is fine. Repository browser is this, and script path is this one. Okay, now let's try to run it and see here. No, not configure, build now. Build, it has been failed. Probably authentication issue. What it is saying. Okay, so simply, as we know, right, while we are logging with the password, we should have given a token. Do I have any token? Now let me git learner. Okay, fine. I'll just use, right? What I do is GitHub. I think first let me check in my GitHub. Did I used my password or token? Minus Jenkins. Credentials. Yeah, this is the one. Looks like I have used password, not a secret key. I mean API key, something from a GitHub. So what I do is under the settings, what is that? Developer settings, what apps, no personal access tokens, classics, Git learning. There is a lot things. Now let me use. Can I use this one? Okay. If you have lost or forgotten this token, you can regenerate it, but aware of that any script. These guys are saying you need to regenerate it, or okay, let's fine, because I mostly probably use it. Another 90 days. Now let it be 7 days here. And then this is my latest code here. I'm saving it on my note things. Because one more thing is, okay, this is one thing. Now I got use of this. What I do is I'll add one more credentials here, saying that add credentials, username with secret text. Okay, I'll use this global. I'm permitting anyone can use of this globally. Username is Naren970. Password, instead of password, I'm pasting, yeah, hopefully, yeah, same thing. And now this is Naren GitHub secret. I'm creating this. Okay, this is the one, right? Now what I do is, let's go to the pipeline syntax here. Now let me refresh this. Instead of 970, what I do is I'll git repository URLs to be not this. And microservices. Yeah, I want this URL. Clone this. Give this repository. Credentials for this. I think this one, right? I don't want this. So the same thing in GitHub secret, right? So everything is same except this one. It will be using this. And then mention 0. And in my pipeline script, I was using this credentials ID, right? Instead of that, what I do is I'll use this as my source code and then let it compile. Same thing, add Jenkins file. I've done changes. Ahmed, changed credentials. I'll give changed creds and push it, and then rerun my previous thing. Under the pipelines view, I do created semi microservices. Let me build now and see. Okay, it's again failed. Let's see the information here. It is saying that git exception. Authentication failed. But in general, it should work actually.
Hello.
Yeah, Sandeep.
It was still in user and password. Yeah, it didn't change to secret
Is it?
text. Yeah.
Oh, just a minute. and the manage Jenkins credentials. Okay. You are saying it was in the secret. Okay, this is fine. Okay, let me do one more thing here. Show system and GitHub source. So that what I do is credentials then global. I'm using this only, but let me rerun it. Yeah, same information. Is it really using the same thing? Just a minute, guys. What I do use is but it still has to provide username and treat username as secret. No, this is the password. Here the password we have given a right one only. Username and password we have given. Generally it should do that. Instead of secret file, it should use a secret text. But it was not asking this guy. Just to give one more try, we'll do that. Don't do the time waste here, but still we'll try one more thing. Okay, we'll use this. We'll use this and then check. What is that? Okay, it did not even updated it. Ah, okay, the latest changes did not update it. Push got failed here itself. Because we regenerated the token, right? So that's why it is failed the push also here. Okay. What we should do is from our command prompt, we should log authenticating here. Okay, token, give our personal token access, unauthorized. Why it is unauthorized here? Okay, username is 0. Password. Why is this being the same password here, right? Okay, got it. I missed. Space is also copied. Copy, push origin. Let's wait for this population to become. Where is the populated authentication? Okay, I'm in. Wait a start. It should at least complete. Okay, the process is still going on. Okay, looks like it got changed. Now let's go back. And then let's rebuild it. Build now. Okay, looks like it is going on. But still it is failed with what? Authentication, because in the source code we have changed something also here. Credentials only, right? Here, something like this we did. We did one thing. At Jenkins, same commands, commit credits, and then keep pushing again. It is pushed, rebuild again, and then see it got updated changes or not. Okay, it simply failed it. Again, it is saying password authentication. Microservices. First, why it has been failing here? The password authentication for the private repository. Generally, it should work. Okay, guys, just we are spending some time here, but still fine. Password which I have given here is this, but let me give this one. Either we can try to use as much of, we'll try to use the, okay, why did we change this in first place? Okay, is this something like this? Yeah, right. Let's fix of this, guys. Jenkins, commit it and push it. Come back. Let's say push is done. But now 6 is also failed. Git CLI, git client launch command, and actually it should be in fine. Okay, let me do one thing. Instead of waiting us on this, right? What I do is, let me make it as a public for now. So branch and issues process pull request here somewhere. I think we can't able to do that, it seems, because, but let me search it. There is a process. Make a GitHub repo public from private. On the GitHub, yeah, settings, danger zone section. Okay, right. Settings in danger zone settings. Into the settings. No, this is not the way, I guess so. Okay, settings of this repository. Okay, let's go to this guy and home semi microservices of this folder. Okay, what is that? So in the danger zone section, change the repository visibility. Okay, danger, change the visibility repository. Transfer, I don't want this repository to be there. Change to public. I want this make to be public. And then, yes. Yeah, true. We can try with the token. That is what we have given a token sign up, but still it's not doing it. But fine, let's try this. I mean, because we have used the same password. Now let's rebuild it and see, since it is a public now. Why this is taking time here? Okay, right, fine then. Okay, now it is able to start pipelining things, but now it came actual issues. This guy saying sh, I'll use echo module. It's trying to execute this a single line, but it is failed here. I mean, failed because it's saying I couldn't find what is that command or something. That's why it is failed. It is trying to find, it is an unexpected, I don't know what it is, based on the Groovy language, and it is failure. Now let's use the shell module to print particular line here, and then use the same thing here. Okay, it is cloning it. Let it clone here. Now what we will do is we'll just use as much as possible under the stage, right? Now we will use the another stage to compile everything here. Okay, we do already have this one, right? For the time's sake, I'm just using the existing one, and then make sure you do have a proper syntax. Otherwise, we'll be telling one package, and that's it. And one more thing is what we do is after package it, what will happening is we will run directly as such. Okay, we will see after what we have to do this. Add Jenkins files and commit also. I'm just changing. Added a build phase, and then git push it. See, the build is succeeded, just clone. Now let me rebuild it once. Yeah, it is pushed. Build it now to compile and see. Okay, success it. It's compiling it. Okay, it is error, saying that what it is error. You got to specify the goal you require to specify no POM in this directory or not. Why? Because in our, I guess, in our repository, there is no pom.xml. You have to intentionally specify in under which directory you have to use it. Okay, you are telling, let me do the stuff. Go to the API gateway. I'm gonna change the my pipeline code here. Before do mvn compile, what I'm gonna do is go to cd API gateway, and yeah, this is a normal one. Let me check the,
Narendra,
yeah.
we are just trying to see your Git.
Oh, sorry guys. Okay. Uh, Okay, what I was saying is the directory was, I mean, directly the pipeline is coming into this root directory and then looking for pom.xml and it couldn't found. So what we suggest is you can go any of this existing folder, and then this is what I was saying. I mean, this was the earlier. Now what I was saying, before mvn compile, use sh module cd to this directory and then do mvn compile. This is one way of doing it. Okay, mvn package and mvn compile, and then push this Jenkins files and let the commit fine. Now let me push it here, and this semi microservices build now. Let's see, console output, say CD API gateway, and again it's still complaining about CD API gateway. There is no pom.xml in this directory also here. Is it? Okay, so we will use the pipeline syntax editor here. So what does it mean is, it should be, first let me check the folder names is correct or not here in my code and in this directory. Yeah, it is correct only. Okay, what we do is, just a 1 minute, we'll go to our pipelines. For example, here, use any of this thing, configure. I'm going to use existing pipeline syntax editor to navigate it. Okay, here I'm going to use this. I'm trying to find out how to navigate to the directory module. Yeah, this is the directory module. Path is API gateway, generate a script for that. Okay, this is the code which I have to use in my pipeline if I want to navigate inside of this. So here till this thing is fine here, right? I'm using this one directory module in order to navigate into that, and then here I'll use this part. I'll throw away this guy and then an X and then some code here. This is the one. So now do the compile and then list out here. So now I have added this file, commit it, push it, and then wait for it to be completed. Here, pipeline jobs, navigate your semi microservice job, and then build now. 11th one here, console output. Let it go here, running this. Yeah, it looks like MVN, it's navigated to API gateway. Okay, this is one thing here. Okay, now let it go here. So now in these steps, I'm assuming it will compile. In these steps, now we will see how to run this particular API gateway server. So if you see here, there is a Docker file they have already mentioned. So this is the command in order to run, let me open a notepad so we'll get easily understand here. Okay, generally this is a command. It's like Java. In order to generate a jar, run a jar, file name dot jar. This is how in order to run this. Okay, and one more thing is, this is the port number they have to provide it here. and Java run jar with port number. No, not to debug. Jar. Okay. Okay, you just need to pass -- port also. You may ask, sir, how do we know all this? Generally, these commands will be provided by the developers. You don't need to worry because they know how to run this project. You just need to grab from them and need to know what are all parameters we need to provide while running that particular project. Okay. How do I, since this is a Dockerized application, I went through inside this Docker file and tried to find out how they are running the jar file here. So I just grabbed it and tried to I tried to recompile this Docker file and then try to generate a command to do that. So that's why it is fine here. Now this is the command. Now let's look at 1 minute, guys. Just a minute, guys. Okay, still compiling it. Let it compile. Okay. It's still compiling it here. Meaning the project looks big. That's why it has been very compiled. Now what we do is we'll use the this is the jar. It is going to be coming here under the target folder. And so here I can directly use this I can execute this into sh module. So this way, this is how it need to run this one. Okay. Now before doing that, let's check are there any ports or any services has been running on port 888. It is saying nothing is running, but still I can use a sudo. So nothing is running. At least check based on the Java processes. See, Java processes are running 8080 port 46501. Okay. Still why we didn't get I mean, if we are able to successfully start this jar file, we would also see that in this result of along with the grep Java processes. Okay, now let's see whether it's still going on or some. Yeah, looks like it's a bigger one. But fine. Meanwhile, what I do is I'll add this. I'm assuming this is going to work fine. I added this and then try to run this. And then this is a backend process. Okay. Meaning what will happening is when you run this Java process, right? That process will keep on going, keep on running. When you close the terminal, it will automatically close the process also. It will kill the process also. Instead of that the way that you do start the process is called foreground process. Now we have to make sure we have to start this process in a background mode. Background means what will happening is even if you close the terminal, the process will still run on the back end. Okay, it won't, even if the session is closed, your process won't be killing. That is where background process would be helpful. Running a process in a background mode is helpful. How to run it? you just need to provide a and symbol at the end of the command. Okay. And there is one more thing called no hub also here. So where you can use of this command no hub, that command and symbol. If you want to redirect the logs, right, email dot logs, you would be redirecting all the logs here. Okay, this is one thing process which will be going on, but still we don't use it, just we'll use the no hub. And even if we want to make sure the confirmation before this thing, run a Java process background, they would suggest you use a no hub or ampersand symbol, appending symbol. This is what no hub and ampersand symbol that would help you to run this process. This is one thing. Okay, now assuming everything is going fine, what I do is I'll just add this changes and then compile it and then push it. Okay, so now let me go to this and then read it. Yeah, finally the build is succeed. And when we do target, actually under the target, we should be getting off all this. Okay. Now the previous build is succeed. Now let's rerun it. Build now here. Okay. And again, this is also going to take a time. Now we just have seen this process. This process. In this particular folder, we reuse the pom.xml and then we just ran this process. Now we will take the same thing, this process with the Docker file. Same process. This is called a Dockerizing an application. What is meant by the Dockerizing an application? Instead of running your jar in a individual mode or direct host, what we do is we'll create a Docker image. Inside a Docker image, we will copy this jar and then we will give an instruction how to run this jar in a container itself. How do we define? Everything is defined on the Docker file. What we do is after defining a Docker file, we will compose the Docker file. I mean, we will be building a Docker image using a Docker compose file, and then we will execute a Docker run command. That's it. Nothing else would be required. So this has been just, I mean, this we will be trying. Okay. Now for that, first you have to make sure your Jenkins machine have a Docker. For example, if you are using this particular job in any of other agent, make sure that agent should have a Docker installed. Currently, all my Jenkins server and everything is running on here, right? So I don't have a Docker installed here. So what should I do is I'll make sure this should have a Docker. Let's see. Okay, what's going on? Because we will be executing a Docker commands here. Okay, I hope you guys can see my screen, both the things. Guys, this is how the requirements will come to you once you join as a DevOps engineer, because they may ask you to write a pipeline, or they may ask you to write, they may ask you to do a Dockerizing their web application. Because I think if you are there, I've remembered while joining, I mean, while giving a demo session initially, I have told one example in one of the community meeting. I mean, the open source meeting. We are, most of all the people are from the development background, like front end developers, back end developers of different tools, Python, Ruby, Java, something. They don't know how to Dockerize things, but they may ask you to Dockerize things, or they may give you the Docker file and then ask you to do a reverse engineering it. So, or they have a Docker file, they'll ask you to use that file and then write a pipeline like this. Anything could be possible. I mean, what is saying? Why Docker is not found? Why? What did I give them? Why guys? What is that happen here? Okay, let me give the PowerShell here. Mm, 2.82. Yes. Okay. Why? Okay, I should be using Docker IO if I use a apt get. Yeah, this is the right one, 293 MB. Okay, let's see the status of it. Yeah, looks like it is done. Unable to access the jar file here. No hub Java. Okay, because I should give a target slash inside of it. That's why it is fail here. Target. This is the one. I'm changing the commit here. So I'm using the same commit because of laziness. So, but don't do that in the company because meaning when someone revisited your commits, right? They should find a meaningful information on that. Okay. Okay. Now let's rerun it here again, and then see build now. The 10 is going on. Console output here. Let it go. What we do is now let's check what are the Java processes going on here. They grab all Java processes. Okay, only two Java processes, which is 8080 and 46501. One successful, we should also able to see this. Okay, but let's see. No hub char port number 888. Okay, there is something wrong with this one. Generally, we should be able to do this stuff here. Now let me find this jar and then see whether I'm able to see. This is the place where the Jenkins job is running. Okay, under the where lib Jenkins folder, under the workspace, we do create our pipeline name. Under the pipeline, we do get everything, and this is the jar. Now let me copy this jar. Why? I mean, what I'm saying is, when you run this, what is happening is it should automatically pop up your. I mean, it should do something. But what is happening is I don't see the log either, and no process also here. And now I'm trying to debug it. First, I'm checking whether am I really able to run the jar. If not, then I should be find out why I'm not able to run. Okay. Now here I just copied. Where is this? Yeah, track route. This one. And the root owner is this guy, root owner, and it has a root is only having a permissions to do that. So now what I'll do is sudo same command, whatever I have given in our shell script, right? Java jar. First, let me run with the in a foreground mode. Okay, and I'll use that. See, yeah, I can't able to run this jar because it's cannot able to find a root M2 directory. This is a problem with the jar which I have generated because it is trying to find a repositories. Find a repo. I mean, it is looking for a repository under this path. Okay, that is why it is failing it. Now let's go do this one way. Since it is looking for this, what we'll do is we'll log in as a sudo and then root directory. Let's check m2 is present. Yeah. Now let's copy this guy here under the home learner. What is that? Trackpad copied here, and then same thing we will run it here. This is your headache. Your headache means one, they'll give you the commands to how to run an application, but if it is not running, we have to take care of it. Okay. Now even this is also getting failed. Main thread cannot locate a launcher. exe jar, something like this. Okay. Finally, it is looking about some other jar, Springboard, something else also. Yeah. Instead of that, what I do give is okay, and now let it live like this. What we do is we'll use a Docker actually and then see if it is able to run properly or not here. Now let's see. Docker is installed here. Show Docker. Nothing has been here. I just installed here. Now what we are just doing is we tried this, but it is failed because some Maven repository settings which had internally. Because what I've done is from my consultancy company, I've just copied this code and then directly used in order to show you how to use it. Okay. Looks like they have internally having some Maven repository settings, which I did not got those information. So probably that could be the reason, because why it is clearly saying it is looking for a launcher under this root of Maven repository of this jar. Totally what I can say is it is looking for the Spring Boot thin launcher one jar as a dependency, but it's not able to find it. Actually, what they might have been done is in the pom.xml they would have been missed it, or they would have been mentioned in somewhere referring one of the classes from this jar file while they are writing a code. These are the two possibility ways. This, I mean, if I suspect, okay, this is what I'm getting something like this, we can report to the developers also, because this is clearly saying it's not able to find it, either pom.xml fix or code fix, two possible things. Initially we thought this could be our issue. What I thought is earlier when we logged in, when we are trying to run as a learner user, it's complaining about it. What I thought is this is not able to pick up from the root directory and something. But I just logged in as a switch it to as a root user and then try to run the jar file, but still the same issue, meaning this particular m2 repository does not have a this particular path and this particular jar. Two things why that has been missed: either in your pom.xml you did not mention it, or you are using some classes of this particular jar without referring this. These are the two possibilities of this issue. Okay, so I mean, sometimes we can stop like this and then report to the take a help from the developers also. So this way this we can solve it. Okay, and now let's try back to our things. Okay, any questions, guys? By the way, I'm just going out of this continuously. Any questions on this? I want to understand. Of course, this could be, but trust me, guys, this is how the real is going to work. Meaning, the use cases you would be getting once you join a company. The troubleshooting session, this is how you thought one thing and it will go end up in somewhere. And even, but thing is, whatever the issue that you got, you have to debug and then make a root cause. I mean, decide on the root cause and then report it. But this is how it should work. I mean, this is how it will also work. Okay, but trust me, these are the use cases that you do face on most of the jobs on daily basis. Okay, now let me try with the Docker commands part of here. What we do is, let me know if I have any questions meanwhile, because we should be knowing out of this, guys. I'm still okay if you don't ask me the questions also, but I request you to ask a questions if you have anything, either use case based or syntax based or anything. Now what I'm gonna do is, now this is my pipeline. Under this pipeline, I just want to use a Docker related commands. Now what I'm gonna do is, I'm just looking for some Docker related pipeline syntaxes issue. See, there is nothing called no plugins or no of the sample steps related to the Docker. What I need to do is, and since I need to work with the Docker, right, I need to install the Docker related plugins which I can use it. Okay. So what I should do is go to the manage Jenkins and then plugins. Under the available plugins, Docker, you can type, you would be finding a Docker related plugins. Docker pipelines here, meaning, see, this is a Docker which you can run the Docker images, that's it, but not work with that. I mean, but here in this your project, there is a Docker compose file under the agents, whatever this, under the API gateway, there is a something called Docker file. You would in the Docker file, what you do is, you will give a set of instructions to create an image. What is this is going to do is, it is going to take OpenJDK as one image, as a base image. Base image means, let me put it this way. When you so basically everything is a Docker image. We'll talk about a lot of things. First of all, you should have some base image. That base image, on top of the base image, you build your own images. I mean, your own steps like this. So ultimately, you will publish, for example, here you do have almost 4 layers in your Docker image. You do have 4 images. So like this, you would be building your all images like this. So meaning, where is this guy? You are using a from means use OpenJDK image. What is this OpenJDK image of 8? There is an image called OpenJDK of 8. There is a, in that image, Java, I mean JDK 8 is already installed. On top of that, create a one more layer. That layer is for exposing port number 8089. And on top of that, add one more layer. That layer should be copying a target. After compiling it, under the target folder, you would get a jar file. Copy that jar inside to image which you are going to create using this file. And another layer is, whenever this image or container started, you please execute this as an entry point. Entry point means, whenever you create a Docker image, whenever you start container from a Docker image, it by default it will execute this jar. I mean, this command. This command could be running a jar. This command could be echo statement. This command could be mkdir statement or anything. But thing is, by using entry point, you would be giving some of the information. I mean, you would be giving a command which will automatically execute whenever you spin up a container from a Docker image. Here, two things are different. Docker image is different. Docker container is a different. If you know Java, right, you will create a class. After the class creation, you can create a multiple objects for that class, right? Similarly, by using a single image, you can create a multiple containers. Container is nothing but a running instance of a existing image. So that's, we'll get to know a lot of things here. So you are simply giving an instructions to your Docker file saying that how to build an image. Okay. So this is one thing. Where were we? Yeah. Now we required Docker pipelines part. Why? Because we want to use the Docker related under the pipeline. This is one of the suggestible plugins, and even this is also fine here. but I would be going with the one plugin. So let it go here and then come back and let it go the Docker plugins related here. Any question, guys? Anyone is talking?
I'll have to work on before asking any questions, Ramesh.
Yeah, sure. You can definitely work on it. No problem. But are you getting the use cases which I'm talking? Use cases nothing to do with
Yep,
any
yep.
of the tools, but I'm telling you the requirements, right? Okay, this is how we are going to get a requirement, and this is how we do approach of solving this particular problem. So are you guys able to getting that particular scenario or use case? Because that is also an important to understand something,
Yep, yep, yep,
right?
yep.
Oh, cool. Because right, I have seen a people. This is my personal experience. Once they join a company, right, they will be struggling to understand a problem or requirements from their manager or team lead. Okay, what they say is, even I'm one among them. Initial stages, that was not now. Like I'll say yes, I have understood, but while implementing it, I forget most of the things, right? So at the time, I'll think about what if I ask again to my manager, do they think differently or do they think I'm incapable? That's how I do think initial stages. But don't hesitate. Whenever you are not clear with the problem statement, you can ask again, and even if possible, try to note it down yourself. Otherwise, you can ask them to share the requirements in a written statement, so you will easily understand about it, and even that would be give a clarity. Okay, but make sure whatever you are doing as a problem statement, make sure you understand the problem statement first, then we'll see, and try to find a root cause if you found anything. Okay, now looks like this is done. What I do is, where is a pipeline syntax? Oh my god, I've done this part. What I do is dashboard. I'll go to this pipeline, whatever it may be. I'll configure it. I'm just looking for the pipeline syntaxes which would help me to construct my pipeline code. That's why I do always prefer. Even thanks for Sandeep, because you pointed out we can use this something. Yeah, here something information Docker related. Docker dir Docker fingerprint. Record the Docker image used in the frame. Record the trace of a Docker fingerprint. Docker fingerprint run from run. I need a Docker build actually. Yeah, with the context. Use a context of Jill. I mean, I hope you can able to see this. I'm just trying to see what are all things I can use. Docker registry, Docker container. Run the build steps inside a Docker container. No, I don't require. Use the context. Get a context of an API's Docker fingerprint. Record a trace of a Docker image. Run in a container. Record a trace of the Docker image. Use it from. No, I don't want this. I want this guy. I want manage Jenkins. I want a Docker build basically. I'll go to this available plugins, Docker build, because I do have a Docker compose. Docker build and publish it. Build it was the Docker file based projects. Yes, this is what I want. But let me check this. Only a Docker file needed to build a Docker project. Publish your Docker industry. That's it. Okay, this is what I require. If I want to use something like this, let me go to this plugin and then see how can I use this. Okay, without restart, I'm installing it here and then let it do this. Okay, let's refresh this and see if I'm able to find any of other syntaxes related to the Docker Compose. Docker delete directory, Docker fingerprint. What is this? Why is this not being? Okay, fine. What I do use is there is a something called here. I can directly, I'm assuming there is a some function which I can use it under this API. Before doing this, Docker build image name I'm gonna do is, I mean, this is a, because I'm assuming this functionality would be present because the plugins that we install here, docker.build, this is a, one of the module like sh. We are using a Docker module. Under the Docker module, there is a function called build. For this build, you have to give your email name, like a trackrat email. This is my email, sorry, this is my image name. And this is a Docker file which is trying to execute it. And now what I'll do is I'll just use Docker. First, let me do this, then we will compile it here. Okay, Docker build, I'm using it. So now what I do is I'll add a Jenkins file here, commit, and then push it. And then now let's rerun it here under the semi-services. Build now. Yeah, it is failed. For what reason? Docker build. It is clearly saying that method calls an object that is not allowed outside of the scripts block. Okay, right. What it is complaining is under the dir block, you just need scripts block here. You have to put inside of this. Now let's see if that works fine. So same thing here, committing it here, pushing it here, go back to this place, build now. Oh my god, two things has happened. Okay, it is clearly saying Docker script does not exist. But let me do one thing here. This, yes, there is a problem here. Under the scripts and stuff this, let me check one more thing here. Push it. Services, build now. Looks like it is going. And we can compile and Docker build. Maybe it should comply now if it is, this one is Docker compliance on something. Okay, Docker build. This is one, got a permission trying to use this. Okay. So it's not able to execute now, a different permission issue. Now it's not able to run the Docker images. For example, let me come out of this. Docker images, if I give, I'm getting some error saying that I'm not able to use it. For this, what I should be using is I can use a sudo. No, this is a Docker, right? Okay, let me Google of this guy. Jenkins Docker build permission they needed. So what we should be doing it out is they are suggesting to add our user to the this guy Docker's group, so it will be easy. That's what this guy is saying. In our case, yeah, this is the right one. They are suggesting user Jenkins user to a Docker group. What does it mean is change the user. I mean, change the user, which is nothing but a user modification. What is that user? You add this Jenkins users to a Docker group, so it will be easy to now it won't ask you anything. At the same time, even learner user also added, so I won't require Docker images. I mean, we have to re-log in again. So I mean, we have to close the session and then log out and log in order to get it work. But I'm sure now it should work properly if we rerun this. Microservices build now, which is the 18th one. Let's see. Compile is done. Going on MVN package. Failure. Again, this has been right here. Docker build permission trying to connect this. Okay, the same issue. No, let me just give me 1 minute, guys. So I'm just rebooting it now. Now this is what it has been going on. Let it come back and then see the IP address, whether it is back. I know we are 30 minutes late, but fine. Let's try for another 5 minutes. So we'll be completing the Docker at least. Images. See, now we are getting without any issues. Now let me check back. Now let me rerun it. Maybe I was thinking. Build now. Sure, 19th build. Let's see. Hopefully we shouldn't get that issue because we have added the Jenkins user also, right? Jenkins. When you install the Jenkins, automatically one user will be get created with the name called Jenkins. And we added that Jenkins users to Docker group. So Jenkins user able to execute the Docker commands without any builds. That is what we have done for this command. Let's wait. We are getting this. Okay, it is executing. See now, Docker build. It is trying to build the Docker images. Okay, now it is building the Docker images. Meanwhile, let's check. This is the Docker images, right? Let's check if there are any images got created automatically. Let's see everything is working fine or not. Sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, it will take some times to create this image. Okay. Once Docker image created, we need to we need to run the Docker image. How do you run the Docker image? This is the basic syntax. Docker run -it, for example, image name, comma, for example, if the image is required a port number to be exposed, 8000:80000, meaning inside a Docker container, it is running on the 8000, but let me check this. Yeah, it is running inside a 8089. So 8089. On the left side, on the right side part is the a port which you have to give mandatory, because in the Docker compose file you have given instruction, please expose this port only. Outer world, anything you can give a 8000, 80809, 9000. On the right side part, you have to make sure whatever used in a Docker compose file, you have to use this. In the left side, you can give any of the port number, but as in practice, whatever the left side, right side we have used, we would be using the same thing on the left side also here. Okay, in order to, why? Because this particular image you can access via this port number. Okay, this is one thing. And finally, bash. So what does it mean is, when you run the Docker command, Docker run image, you need to tell which program you need to launch. By default, when you logged into your remote mission or in your VM, it will open a terminal, right? A bash program is automatically get open. Automatically means not terminal, I mean say. Even though you won't see it, it will launch the terminal as a process. So here also you have to explicitly mention which program you have to launch. Should I launch Firefox? Yes, you can do. Should I launch sh module? Yes, you can launch. You can give a Java, so you can give the thing, but basic thing is bash. So why bash? Because it will ask you, it will launch you the terminal to enter some commands. You will see in a moment when we try this. Where is this guy? Okay, still it is taking a lot of time, guys. It depends a lot of things. Docker image, only it's steps 4 actually, but no problem, we'll continue for the next class. But I'll show you the same thing. There are another 3 steps it has to be completed. it is under the first step only. What the first step it is, here we can see here the first step is base image. I mean, it is trying to download this image, and next step is exposing the port. These are the sample ones, on simple ones only, but first step is itself is taking so much of time here. 1 2 3 4 6 right here. 1 2 3 4 5. I mean, another 2 more layers it has to be completed, along with another 2 steps, 3 steps. So it is going to take a time. Let's pause this for today, and we'll continue to the same thing. I thought by tomorrow ending we can complete the Jenkins, but looks like we'll try to complete as much as possible by tomorrow, because we focused a lot on the pipelines here by using it, by talking about the different scenarios. And there are other things also. There are 2 more things are pending. One is administrative related, especially the pipelines part. Sorry, not pipeline, sorry. Credentials, user matrix, restrictions and creations, management of a users using a matrix, and different backup strategies. For example, sometimes we have to compile we have to take a backup of this Jenkins server and then install it in this and another server. What are the backup strategies? And master slave, of course we don't do the master slave configuration, but the concept I'll be explaining it here. Okay, this would help you in long term also if someone asks. Okay, that's it guys from today. I know it is taking a lot of time. Let's continue tomorrow. We'll try to wrap up tomorrow by spending some more time. Otherwise, another half class we'll be taking probably on Monday. Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you.